Okay, guys, so I'm going to show you how to use the Chemex program to produce your particulate diagrams. The particulate diagrams or particle diagrams are used in chemistry to represent atoms and molecules so that we can see if they're in a mixture, if they're a pure substance, or if they're just in their pure elemental form. And we like to use particulate diagrams throughout the entire course to help model some of the observations that we see in the lab. A really good program to do this instead of hand drawing everything is to use something called chemex.org. So I'm going to show you how to use this program and how you're going to use it in the activity at the end of the lesson. So you're going to type in www.chemex.org. And what I want you to do when you hit enter and you get into the program, I want you to hit the star so that you can add it to your tab at the top. This is going to be a program that we're going to use to model the different observations we make and the different phenomena that we study. We're also going to use it to help draw our lab setups when we get into the lab. So this program is awesome because it has all of the glassware that we're going to use and most of the measuring apparatuses that we're going to use. When you get into the program and you type it in and then you save it, I want you to save it to your taskbar. Can't talk. You're going to go in and you're going to sign in. So you're going to use your Gmail, your Horry County Schools Gmail to log in. So you're just going to hit sign in and sign in with Google. Okay. Then your little picture icon for your horrycountyschools.net email should pop up. So there's mine. And this is the screen that you automatically get every time you log into the site. So what I want you to do is if you click, you do a right click, okay, and it'll give you this box. I want you to drag this box over the entire drawing. What it does is it selects the whole drawing, and I want you to hit the delete button so that we have a nice blank screen. So really what you need to do is get in and kind of play with it before you actually do the assignment, but I'm going to kind of briefly go through some of the tab options that are available. So if you look up top here, you can see you've got the select and move items button. So that's the button when you're creating your particulate diagrams that you want highlighted. You can pan the workspace, so you can make the workspace. So the workspace is your white screen here. You can make it bigger or smaller. You can label with the label button. So if you click that, it's going to give you your cursor to type. You can undo, you can redo. You can cut out images, you can copy images, you can paste images, and then you can delete the images. If ever you need a new screen, you can create a blank diagram by clicking the new button up here at the top. We also have some other tabs on the side. So you see the little flask here, that's your chemistry. So that's common chemistry glassware that you use in the lab. You have your measurements tab here. These are some of the measurement tools that we use. So you can scroll down, you can see all the measurement tools. There's a tab for biology. We probably won't use that one very much, but that right there has some good images for some of the biology objects. Distillation is one that we probably won't use. That's more for organic chemistry. Accessories, that's a really cool one. This has got some cool, neat safety equipment that you might use, some labeling, and like the eye, to look and be cautious of. And if you continue to scroll down, you will also see the safety labels here at the bottom. And then the last one is your shapes for drawing shapes. So this is a common one that you will use, the shapes, and you will use the ellipse when you're drawing your particulate diagrams. So for instance, here, if I click here, I can click a beaker. So if you click on beaker, it's going to give you this beaker here. And oops, I've got the label tool. I don't want that. Whenever you're drawing your diagram, make sure the arrow button over here is clicked. And all right, and you click on the object, you can move it, drag it wherever you want in the diagram. and you get this little yellow square. Well, that yellow square, if you click on it, it's going to make it bigger or smaller. Okay. You can also control how big or how small on the properties window here on the side. So that is there, so you can just move the width or you can just do the height. All right, so that's there. You can always reset it back to the original by hitting the reset. So you can move that all the way big, wide, that all the way tall, and you've got it at its maximum size. The other thing that's really neat that you can do with all of the glassware on the side is there's a liquid tabs here on the side. If you click that, so you can make the liquid really deep and dark if you're using a liquid, or if you are just want an empty beaker, if you go over to the liquid amount, right here, you can make it really full. So if it's all the way opaque here, you can make it really full, or you can make it have 0. So on all of our particulate diagrams, we're going to go ahead and have an empty beaker or flask, test tube, whatever you're using. I want you to go ahead over here for all of this activity, click that liquid tab button, and I want you to put the liquid amount to 0%. We don't want any liquid in it. We just want an empty beaker. All right, so how do we go about and draw those particles? So we talked about how each of those little dots that you draw on a particle diagram represents an atom. So you go over here to shapes, click it. Okay, and you're going to hit the ellipse. So notice there's no circle option, which is okay. Hit the ellipse, and it's going to draw an ellipse for you. So what I want you to notice, again, on the Properties tab over here on the bottom, we can change some things. So some of the things that you're going to be changing is, one, we're going to force it into a circle. So usually with our particulate diagrams, your atoms are represented as circles. Now you can have different shapes. That's up to you. Just make sure you have a key to show which is which. All right, so I'm going to hit forced circle shape. So in the properties drop down here, if you hit forced circle shape, it forces a beautiful circle that we're going to use as an atom. Again, this little yellow box here will help you resize it. So I'm going to make it small because it's an atom. Okay, you see that when you click it? You can change the color. So if you click these little boxes, the box on top is going to be the fill color for in the center. So you can see it fills just the center of the atom. If you wanted it all to be one color, if you hit the border color, you can hit the same color here, and it makes your atom all one color. All right, and we're going to place it in there. Let's say we have a mixture, right? So we have several different atoms. We're going to have a mixture in there. So I'm going to hit the ellipse again. I'm going to hit force circle to force it into a circle, and I'm going to change it a different color because it's a different atom. And I want it to all be one color, and I'm going to make it just be a little bit bigger here. There is my other atom, and I've got a mixture going on. All right. It's pretty neat. You can use it. You can do a lot of things. Again, if you ever needed to delete it all or select it all, you can just take your cursor, right click and drag it, highlight it all, and then you can either group it. So you can group it all together. So if you hit group objects, now you can move it all as one thing. It's all grouped together. So kind of a neat little thing that you can do as you're going through and playing around and making these. The group button is really important when you're making compounds. So let's say I'm going to make this into, let me move this down. Let's say I'm going to make methane, CH4. Okay, so I have CH4 over here. There's CH4. And the nice thing about here, it automatically detects if you hit this box, it detects that CH4 should be a subscript, and you didn't have to do anything other than hit that box. So CH4 means I have 1 carbon atom and 4 hydrogen atoms. So if I wanted to make this, I go back to my ellipse, I'm going to force it into a circle, and I'm going to let this circle represent carbon. So I'm going to make it gray. We're going to make carbon gray just because I feel like it. Okay, I'm going to make it so it's not super big. All right, and there's my carbon. Now I'm going to create 4 hydrogens because we're going to make a molecule. So I'm going to force it into a circle. I'm going to make it smaller because hydrogens are smaller. And we're going to make this one a light gray. Okay. All right. So I got to have 4 of them. So if you hit Control C and then Control V, I can now paste it without having to do it twice. And I'm just going to kind of drag them and connect them because remember, compounds have to be connected to the other atom because they're chemically bonded. So I'm going to just connect them all so that they're physically touching. And there is my methane. Now let's say I wanted to move this all around the page. What I can do is I can right click and then drag my cursor over top so that it highlights all of them and hit group objects. So now what I can do is I can move my methane molecule around the page without having to continually attach all of the dots. And that'll be really important because if you wanted to say add it to a flask. All right, let's say you wanted to add this guy to the flask. So remember we want our liquid to be 0. I can now just drag it and drop it into the flask. Okay, so it's just a really neat way to draw our particle diagrams and to model what we're seeing in a natural phenomena. Now, one of the other really cool things that you can do with this, I'm going to group it again. So see, I highlighted everything I wanted grouped together. Now I can move the whole thing and have it right underneath the label. Pretty neat. You can download any of these images to insert into a document, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So I'm going to start with a new. I'm going to start here with a new clean page. All right, so what your activity is going to have is you're going to have 4 situations that you are going to draw particulate diagrams for. And we're going to use the chemics to do these drawings. So I want to use what I've learned to draw a heterogeneous mixture of sand and silt. All right, so we're going to do this. Now it says, this one doesn't tell me what container it's in, so I get to pick whatever container I want. So I'm going to just pick a regular beaker. I'm going to draw my beaker, make sure it's real big so you can control it with the toolbar or with the little yellow square to make it big. Remember, we want to empty out all the liquid, so we hit the liquid tab on the glassware and we go down to 0 amount. All right, so we're going to make our sand and our silt. So it is a heterogeneous mixture, so that means it's not going to be mixed uniformly, so there's not going to be a pattern. So I'm going to create my sand and my silt here with some little dot representations. So I get my ellipse. I'm going to hit force circle. There it is. All right, and I'm going to make my sand kind of a sand color. So let's do this color. Now, what's really neat is you can copy and paste the color. So let's say I didn't want this outline. I wanted an outline to match. So if you hit your border color, if you hit the color you want to copy, so this right here, copy color, then I can click over here and I can paste the color. So it's all the same color. It's up to you. It's not a big deal if you don't. But here's my sand, and I'm going to make a copy of it. So I'm going to hit Control C while it's highlighted, and then Control V, Control V, Control V. So I'm going to place my sand in the container. And they're a little big, so I'm going to make them smaller here. So I'm just clicking on it, making it smaller. Okay. And I'm going to Control V a couple more of these. I'm going to fill my jar. Okay. Kind of get them close. And I'm going to leave this bigger one over here because we're going to label what that dot represents, because a lot of times you need to always label so we know what you're talking about. I'm going to create another ellipse here. I'm going to force it into a circle, And we're going to let this one be a dark gray. And I'm going to just make it a little bit smaller here for my labeling. And then I'm going to copy it. So Control C while it's highlighted, and then Control V, Control V, Control V. I'm going to make these smaller so that they fit in my jar. And I'm going to drag it. And I'm going to put the silt in the corner over here. So it's not following a pattern because it's homogeneous, which means it's not uniformly mixed. All right, so there is my heterogeneous mixture of sand and silt. So I'm going to label what each of these dots represent. So I'm going to hit the A, and I'm going to put the label right here. And I'm going to call this one sand. Okay, I'm going to create another one down here, and we'll move the labels so it looks better. And we're going to call this silt. I'm going to move them. So the way I move them is I'm going to click the arrow, and I'm going to drag this down right here. And I'm going to hit the sand, and I'm going to drag this down right here. All right. So here we have this gorgeous image that is my particulate diagram. Now, how do we get it into the Google Doc? So what we're going to do, if you hit download image, so up here on the top, hit download image, and you're going to download it as a ping. That means that it's going to get rid of the background and it's just going to have the diagram. So pings are one of my favorite ways to download it. If you have trouble with that formatting, so say you want to download it into Word and it's not letting you download the PNG file, you can download it as a JPEG. So it's up to you. I'm going to do a ping. And I'm going to go to my file. So here is my picture right here down in the corner. And I am just going to drag it onto the document. There it is. And then I'm going to resize it so that it fits nicely in the box. There it is. Resize this box here so that it doesn't look so. If you highlight the box too, you can center it. So if you go here, we want to center it. There it is. So you just want to check the formatting as you're doing all of this because we want it to look nice and uniform and fit neatly into that box. And there it is. I would send it and turn it and submit it. There is the particulate diagram. So you're going to do this for 4 problems. You're going to use the ChemX. So you're going to draw 4 different pictures. You can have both tabs open while you're doing it. It'll probably make it go a little bit faster. And after you've downloaded your diagram, you would just go back here and hit New, hit OK, and you would go ahead and start on your second one. Send me a reminder if you're having any issues or jot down any questions you might have, and we can talk about it in class.